everybody. Welcome to Mind the Mental Monday. I hope that everybody is doing well tonight. I hope that you are in a good headspace. But if you're not, I'm hoping that something here, something that is said here will be encouraging to you and that you will take something away from this discussion tonight that will help you, especially during these holiday seasons. So I'm hoping that what is said tonight will be um, something that you will be able to take away. I want to give some practical tips tonight, especially with these holidays that are upcoming. And so Thursday, Thursday, we will, some of us, many of us will celebrate the holiday of Thanksgiving. And so I want to kind of get into some of that tonight. So I want to give everybody a chance to kind of come in, get settled, get something to write with, because hopefully you'll kind of take some notes, but hopefully you'll be inspired tonight. All right. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope that I hope you're doing well. Put in the chat how you're doing. How are you doing tonight? How are you doing with the upcoming holidays? Are you excited? Are you planning to do something fun? Are you going to be with family? What is your mood around the holiday that is up and coming? So put that in the chat, whether you're watching it live or whether you will be watching on YouTube. Put it in the comments, put it in the discussion. I just want to get a glimpse as to what people's plans are because people have different things that they do, different traditions that they practice around the holiday season. And so I'm hoping that you will all have a good time or you'll whatever you choose to do. I hope it is something that will be relaxing for you and something that you will get something out of. All right. So let's just get ready to get into the topic tonight. Because one of the things that can be really rough around holidays is a lot of things where there are people that are going around that are joyous and who have family that they're going to celebrate with. They have the financial means to engage in all the gift giving and that sort of thing. There are a lot of people who are missing loved ones. There are a lot of people who don't have the financial means to maybe do what they would really like to do financially for their loved ones during these holiday seasons. And we can really get into a rut. And so there are a lot of things that are happening simultaneously, right? Like we had government layoffs that caused people to maybe miss a paycheck. I don't even know if the federal workers were given their back pay. I'm not sure about that. But that just caused an extra amount of stress. There are people whose benefits were cut, right? Who suffer with food scarcity. Uh, Funds had been cut for a variety of things, food banks and things that help to support people's basic needs as a humanity. uh, Wars are happening in other parts of the world. Uh, ICE agents here in this country are kidnapping people, literally. So there's just a lot of chaos, right, that is going on in the US, but also just in the world. And when there's a lot of chaos, sometimes it is really hard to kind of get in the mood for anything gratitude wise. It's hard to think of um, something to be grateful about. I mean, the reality is there are a lot of people that are heavy right now, that have heavy hearts, heavy minds, heavy emotions. They don't know how they're going to um, pay the rent next month. There are people who lost jobs who are living paycheck to paycheck, as probably the majority of Americans are. Um, there are people who just have so much anxiety and have so much heaviness loaded on them that they just really don't know how in the world am I going to be thankful for anything. And we have, I think, largely moved from sort of the origins of the Thanksgiving holiday, which are questionable. Go back and read the history, right? I'm not going to give a history lesson tonight, but um, it's questionable as to whether it was actually a Thanksgiving for everyone, right? And so a lot of people have sort of adopted a new a new stance on Thanksgiving as just being a day that we are intentional about being thankful, and that we really sort of think about what are some of the things that we're thankful for. But if we are going through like just a really hard time, if we've lost loved ones, especially if we've lost them recently, and this is like the first holiday in particular without that loved one, if we have lost some of our financial means, and it's enough trying to get food on the table on a day-to-day basis, let alone trying to have some kind of a big spread on this one particular day. When we are, facing all kinds of hardships, not sure about our job situations, not sure about, how we are just going to make ends meet. It can be really hard. If we are to be real with ourselves, it can really be hard to think about what we are grateful for. And so the topic tonight is finding gratitude, right? Finding gratitude when life feels heavy. And the reason that I titled it Finding Gratitude is that it is something that we have to be intentional about doing. Even when we are uncertain about the future, what the future may hold for us, even when we are grieving, that there's that extra chair around the dinner table, whether it's Thanksgiving or Christmas or, whatever holiday you might celebrate. Most holidays, regardless of whatever religion you practice, or whatever cultural practices you might have, involves your loved ones and involves your community, the close people that you are used to having around you every year during these seasons. And I can say for me personally that um, not having either of my parents anymore here on this earth during the holiday seasons is hard. It's really hard. And even, the holiday seasons, especially like my dad was a big on celebrating the holidays, and especially Christmas. Like we would have big Christmases when my dad was alive, and when he transitioned on many years ago, at this point 21 years ago, um it has not been the same since in our family. I mean, my siblings and I, we still come together in the same sort of vein as when he was here, but it's definitely like a big light that's sort of missing, that he's not here. It's a big light missing that my mom is not here anymore. And that, looking forward to going to visit her. It's hard that my mother-in-law is not here anymore. Um, we still have my father-in-law, and we will look forward to going to spend some time with him on those days. But he has dementia. And sometimes he remembers who we are and sometimes he doesn't. So it's really hard. It's really difficult to really to face those facts. When you are faced with it, when it hits you in the face, it can be hard to think about being having gratitude, right? In the midst of that. It can be hard thinking about what you're thankful for and what you're grateful for in the midst of the grief or in the midst of the loss that you might experience during that time. Um, but it's important to find it. And find is a verb, right? And a verb means that it's an action word. It's something that you have to take action. And so you have to find gratitude because even in the midst of loss, even in the midst of pain, even in the midst of all the chaos that we might be facing in this world, we can still find snippets of gratitude along the way. And so that's kind of what I want us to sort of focus on tonight. And as with everything else, the first thing to do is to acknowledge that it's hard to be grateful, right? So if you're having a difficult time finding gratitude, acknowledge that, right? Because it is a very human response. You know, when that loved one is lost, when those finances, when the money is funny, as they say, and ain't no nothing funny about it. You know what I mean? Like when things are going rough, when things are challenging all around you, there's challenges at the job, there's challenges in the community. It seems like every which way you look, there's challenges. You can't even watch the news because there's always just stuff going on. Our the young people seem to be, some of them are losing their way, and it's just really hard to think about all of these things that are happening, and yet at the same time, in the midst of all of that, find gratitude. So how do you do that? I mean, the first thing is to understand that finding gratitude doesn't erase the pain that you might be feeling, the hardship that you might be going through. Finding gratitude doesn't erase it, but it anchors us through it. And so it gives us a way um, to try to find ways to brighten our day, brighten a moment in our day when we think about um the good things, when we try to remember, if there's a loved one, what helps me in the midst of the grief and the loss is remembering like the crazy stuff my dad used to do all the time, but especially during the holidays, right? Just having a good time. Some of the quirky things he might say. We used to call him Fred Sanford because he used to say some of the wildest things. And so just remembering how he made us laugh is something that sort of helps. And when I am able to talk to my siblings and we kind of just go back and forth and just remembering different things that our mom did during the holiday season that made it special and for everybody. And even, a time that she played a trick on my brother, my brother Eric, because he was snooping around looking for his name on packages, and she intentionally left his name off of all of his packages. And so it kind of looked like he wasn't getting anything, but in the end, he did indeed get some things. So little, silly things that we did that happened in the family. It doesn't erase the pain that they're not here, but it gives levity to it. It just gives us something to to laugh about. And I did a segment on laughter a long time ago now, but laughter is something that really does help release those endorphins and get that spark of energy going for you in your brain. And it tells your brain that, hey, I'm happy about something. I'm grateful about something, right? So just remembering those kinds of things. Um, and even when we find gratitude in the little bit that we might have, so we might, not have the financial resources to do some of the things that we would like to do, but rather than looking at it from through the lens of scarcity, try to look at it through the lens of, okay, I don't have this, but this is what I do have. And such that I have, I'm going to use it, right? Whatever it is that I have. And one of the things I really want to encourage us to do this holiday season is to not focus to focus less. I did a segment I think last year around the holiday season that was talked about presence over present. So presence, presence over presents, right? Presence over presence. Because a lot of times unless we have loved ones that are materialistic, and if that's the case, that's their issue, not yours. um, but I, I like being around the people that I love during the holidays. I just like being around them. I like just being able to laugh and have a good time. And if we had to, we couldn't afford some kind of a big fancy meal. If we just sat around, if all you could afford is a pizza, a couple pizzas, and pizza can be expensive nowadays too, though. But you know what I mean. If you can whip up just a big thing of spaghetti, and that's what you got, some spaghetti and some Hawaiian rolls, right? As long as you have the presence of each other, like that's really what matters. And so I really want us, it's really time out for us spending a whole lot of money with these companies that really don't care about us. Like they really don't care about people who are poor. They really don't care about people that don't have the means. All they care about is gouging, is their greed and just getting more and more and more and more. Well, it's not good enough to be a billionaire. I need to be a trillionaire. Um, and so, but but they are that way because we're feeding it. Like it's because of what we spend in those companies that allows them to do that, and allows them to just be greedy, more and more and more greedy, and the rest of us are getting more and more broke. Why? Right? So I really want us to, in finding gratitude, find the gratitude in the small things. Find the gratitude in I get to spend some time with people that I love, or find the gratitude in I get to spend some time all by myself. And for people that don't get to do that very often, sometimes that is a huge gift. What can I get you? You can get me some time to myself. That is a gift, right? So those kinds of things, because one of the things that really puts us into a depression sometimes around this season is that we don't have the money to just spend on stuff that, let's face it, when you have kids, I, my kids, I tell this, my oldest daughter. My oldest daughter was born. She was when she was maybe like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. I spent a good amount of money. I spent like $80, which was this is back in, back in the 1990s, on some toys, right? That was supposed to be educational toys. And I was so proud because I spent all I saved up my little coins to spend money on these little educational toys because they would be something for her to play with and something for her to learn with and all of that. And when I tell you that I put them toys out and then there was an empty Coke can that I had, and when I tell you that she played with that Coke can, she wasn't thinking about them toys. I was like, I just spent $80 on these toys. That's something that she hears all the time. And now she's got two, and hopefully she'll get paid back that. But but we often think because of the culture that we live in that puts so much emphasis on how much people make, like how much money people have as being the thing that determines success. People very often try go overboard and go in debt doing things for other people that if you got kids, they're gonna play with them things for a day, maybe 2 days, 2 or 3 days if it's good, and then they're gonna get bored with it, and then they're not gonna play with it again. Like anybody who's a parent, like this is what happens, but it doesn't just happen with kids. It happens with adults. You spend all this money and you get, your loved one or whomever this nice fancy gift, and they use it, for however long. And then by in a few months, it's like you don't see it no more. It's like, wait, what happened to that thing I got you? That thing you asked for. You don't even use it anymore. And so we have to shift our minds to find gratitude in the small things. It's what I really like about, those holidays wherein they're not going out and just, spending a whole lot of money on things, but they're making things with their hands. Um, Kwanzaa is one of those. I believe Hanukkah, I believe is one too, where they when they give the gifts for each of the days, but the gifts are something that is handmade, and it is something that is that reminds the person that you're giving the gift to of some kind of important principle, or just reminds them that you care about them. And that's what I feel like that's what people really want, to be shown that you care about them, not so much the stuff, because stuff is going to ultimately go in a trash dump somewhere at some point in time. But you can never, you can replace the presence, but you cannot replace your presence. So giving of yourself to the ones that are still here that you love, um being reminded of the great times that maybe you've had with those who have passed on, honoring them in some kind of way. Honoring their memory can be a way to find gratitude, because again, you're finding the gratitude in those beautiful memories that you have of that person. And so some practical strategies to do that is to start with something small. So these are some practical steps in finding gratitude. And sometimes it's like finding gratitude can be like a scavenger hunt. It really can be. It's like I don't know where I'm gonna find it. The rent is due, and I don't know where the money's coming from. The babies are hungry. I don't know where I'm gonna get the meal from. Sometimes it is really like it's like a scavenger hunt where it's just hard. You're looking for, that thing that's hidden somewhere, that jewel, or that something that is going to be, useful for you. Sometimes finding gratitude is like that. It's like, I don't know where I can't even, I can't even think of where to start. Well, start small. Start by thinking of little things that bring you joy. A warm shower, a bubble bath, taking deep breaths, taking a long walk, um, you know, getting a text from a friend, sharing a funny meme with a friend, like those are really little things. Those are things that can kind of jumpstart the brain. And the reason that that works is that the brain responds to small but consistent gratitude cues, and it eventually it starts to enliven your brain and sort of wake it up, and it can help to move you from thinking about what you don't have to being grateful for what you do have, right? And so, even taking the breath in your lungs, because it's not guaranteed that we will have it, right? We, at some point, all of us are going to transition. And that is a reality. I'm not trying to be morbid, but that's a reality, right? It's as much a part of life as life itself. So being grateful that I can take that deep breath right now. There's somebody that's on an oxygen machine that wish they could on their own take a deep breath. But even being grateful to have an oxygen machine that can give you that extra boost when you need it. That's something to be grateful for. Um, and so laughing, just finding reasons to laugh. If you can't find a reason to laugh, go on YouTube, and you can go on the free version of YouTube and find something funny, some kind of, maybe a comedian that you like, or somebody that's going to make you laugh, something that's going to, or that friend that's just funny and just gets you, makes you laugh all the time. Those kinds of things work. Participating in um, even things virtually. So our church had a virtual game night the other night, this past Saturday. And man, when I tell you, it was so much fun. It was virtual, but we were playing games and we were joking. And the pastor was cheating, who was my other half. I've played games with him before, so I know. And Minister Ebony, who was my team member here in the ministry that she leads, our We Care ministry, is the one that did the game night, and it was we just had so much fun. It was just fun just coming together, even though we weren't in person, but we just had so much laughter and just had a good time with each other. So even something like that, it doesn't cost you anything, to do to you might maybe you don't have family. Um yes, Joy, Pastor was cheating. Pastor was coming up with some crazy stuff in the stuff that we were doing in the game. He was but but it made us all laugh, if nothing else, and he didn't get the points for it. So but so you might, maybe you don't have family like in located wherever you are. But and maybe you have family that you're not going to get a chance to see. They're still here, right? But you won't get a chance to see because they live far away. Well, these platforms, Zoom, um, and these kinds of platforms make it such that we can at least see each other and do fun things virtually. And so we can tap into the technology that we do have. I'm sad that I won't see two of my children on Thanksgiving, but we got FaceTime, so I'll at least get to see their faces, at Thanksgiving. I'm grateful for that. Um, So so there are three things that we can sort of think about, or ways that we can think about finding gratitude. I just talked about, finding those small things that you might be grateful for. Um, but another way to sort of find gratitude is to think about something that you're grateful for in the past, something you're grateful for in the present, and something that you can hope for, that you look forward to in the future. And then just write down one thing from each of those categories. Something you were grateful for in the past, something you are grateful for in the present, and something that you look forward to in the future. Write them down, and from those three categories each day. And, you again start to fill your mind up with those things that, oh yeah, I do have something to be grateful for. Regardless of the strife I might be facing, I do still have something to be grateful for. Um, when it comes to grief, I've done a couple of Mind the Mental Mondays with two of my uh close, one is my cousin and one is a close friend, um Dr. Edna Bell and Michelle Thornhill. They are both certified grief counselors, and I've had both of them on Mind the Mental Monday to share about, I think the one with Michelle really talks about facing grief during the holiday season, because it is a season that a lot of people are, depression goes up around the holidays, because people have faced a lot of grief and loss. And then on top of that, the thing I forgot to mention earlier, on top of that, the days are shorter. And so it's dark early. And even during the day, it's like sometimes you're hard pressed to see sunshine. It's cloudy during the day a lot during this time of year. It's dark at 4:30. Um, and there are a lot of people who suffer with sad seasonal, what is that? Seasonal something depression disorder. I can't remember what the A stands for, but it's SADD. Seasonal associated depression disorder, I think, or something like that. I have to get that. Somebody find that for me. So, and remind me of what that stands for. But a lot of people suffer with that during the winter season. Um, and so you have that on top of everything else, and it can just compound. And so in order to lighten things up and try to lift some of those things off of you, you have to find gratitude, find reasons to be grateful. So when you're holding grief and you're holding loss, there is a way to acknowledge both, right? It can be a both and. You can acknowledge both the pain of the loss, but also the joy of having experienced that loved one for however long you had to experience them. And so, I miss them. Seasonal affective disorder. Thank you, Joy. Seasonal affective disorder is what it's called when people um, have depression over during the winter months when it gets dark early. Thank you. Um, so, you can say, I miss them, you know, um, and I'm grateful for the years that we had together, or for, if it might not be years, it might be, if it could be a child that you lost, that maybe you had that child for a day. Um, but even remembering, creating opportunities to remember those people, or those losses that you might have had. So maybe creating like some kind of a gratitude memorial of or ritual, lighting a candle, to remember that person, sharing a story, keeping a photo, um, even creating a photo album that shows just all the joyous times. And yeah, it might make you sad too, right? You might cry, and that's okay. It's okay to, crying is a way to release those feelings of pain. And so, so you'll have both. You'll have joy through those tears. Stevie Wonder has a song, Joy Inside My Tears. Yes, you're going to hurt. Acknowledge the hurt. Yes, there's going to be pain. Let yourself cry. Let yourself experience it, but let the joy in that pain be. But you know what? I'm grateful. I'm so grateful that I at least experienced this, with this individual. Um, and, I'm hurt, but I'm here. And while I'm here, I am going to do something to remember that individual and to honor them. Um, I talked a little bit earlier about finances, when your finances are tight. And that's such a hard thing this time of year, and especially for those of us who celebrate break Christmas. And so, and what I want for those who are Christians to understand is that, this is the time of year that we have set aside to celebrate the birth of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Um, what is one of the best ways to celebrate the birth of Christ? It is by giving the gift of self, going out, going broke, going in debt, buying a whole bunch of things is not going to necessarily like really do for your loved one what the gift of self can, of just being there. And that's not why Christ was born. Uh, and so the sort of the pagan side of the Christmas holiday is something that, you know, back in the day it was Rome, which was a society much like America, where it's just about greed. The birth, the Christ story gets lost in the greed. We don't have to participate in that. I like giving. I think, I'm not saying to not give, to not give a gift, but we also, I don't think that going broke, going in debt, when as those of us in the Christian faith are told to be the lender, not the borrower, um, going in debt to give people things is not necessarily being a good steward over what we have been given. And that might be tight, but I think it's right. Um, I just think that there are much better ways that we can really amplify what it means that our Savior came into being into this world. Um, as he walked this earth, he gave of himself. And that is what we can do. Give of ourselves. There are neighbors, there are people who can't eat. And, we are spending exorbitant amounts of money on things that don't necessarily amount to anything. Um, so, finding gratitude that I can, maybe I can't really afford to do as much as I want. Maybe I can't donate 10 turkeys, but what I can do is I can fill up a bag of canned goods and donate them. Um, and I can go to the store and, for, a few dollars, I can fill up a bag of canned goods and give them to somebody who otherwise might not have a meal, might not have a way to eat. So being grateful, having gratitude that I can do that, we can, I can help my fellow humans who need it. Um, we can also, you know, celebrate when we are able to be resourceful, when we're able to stretch the little bit that we have. That is a reason to be grateful. Um, I'm so glad that my mother taught me how to shop, right? She taught me, she taught us, me and my siblings, all of us, things like when you go to the supermarket and, you might have one can of a product is, is $1. The other can is $2, but you have three times the amount in the $2 can as the $1 can. Which one is really the cheapest, right? It's the $2 can, right? So teaching things like that, like to not fall for these marketing tricks, um, you know, uh, and just being resourceful in order to be able to stretch the little bit that you might have. That's something to be grateful for. Um, Using grounding practices. One way to ground is to just, um, I don't know, if you're somewhere with some grass or you outside, or just to take your shoes off. Like just take your shoes off and, kind of walk on the ground, without your shoes. Um, it allows the sort of the magnetic parts of the earth to kind of come up and balance you out. I have to do something on that because I have to get the actual scientific terminology, which I didn't plan to talk about that tonight, so I didn't bother to research it to go back and so I can research it and sound sensical with it. But, and just taking again always the deep breaths and the different kinds of things that you can do to just center yourself. Going just sitting in a quiet corner, just being in silence. Um, I have gotten to a place where there are times where I'm in the car, I'm like, oh, I'm in the mood for I'm gonna listen to a podcast or I'm gonna listen to a sermon or I might listen to music. But then there are those times where I get in the car and I'm just like, you know what, I'm really not feeling anything. I just need silence. I just I just need I just need to ride in silence because when I'm in silence, that's the kind of way I can hear from God more. Um, So silence is something that I'm grateful for because there's noise all the time. There's always something going on. The TV always on these phones, on social media. There's always just a lot of noise, and we're not able to tap into our inner selves because we are so um we have so much chaos playing around us. And sometimes we have to shut the chaos off. Sometimes we got to shut off the TV. Sometimes we got to shut off the computer, shut off the phone, and just go sit down somewhere. Like our foremothers would say, go sit down somewhere. Just have a seat and just be quiet. And in there, in the silence, you will be able to find gratitude because your mind won't be focused on that robbery that happened in your neighborhood. Your mind won't be focused on that song that plays on loop in your head, that your mind won't be focused on, the latest thing that happened, the latest TikTok trend, right? You will actually give your mind a chance to breathe and think about those things internally that you can be grateful for, even when times are heavy. We in some heavy times right now. I ain't gonna, as my son would say, I ain't gonna hold you. We in some heavy times. But guess what? We can get through those heavy times, because even though the times are heavy, we can find levity. We can find ways to lighten the load somewhere along the way, but we have to be intentional to look for it. We have to be intentional to go on that scavenger hunt and find the treasure, because there is a hidden treasure in finding gratitude when times are heavy. And so tapping into your community, tapping into your tribe, finding um, gratitude in moments that you have with your friend group, or with your friends, or your close relatives, asking somebody, somebody that maybe you haven't heard from or you haven't seen in a while, calling them, not texting, calling them, picking up the phone and calling them, saying, "Hey, I just want to hear your voice. And, how are you? You doing okay?" When you check on somebody else when you're going through, I- it can lift it can lift your load, just because you found it somewhere. You found the strength to come outside of yourself and check on somebody else, even though you're going through your own hard time. So, you know, listen to stories of resilience. There are people who have gone through similar things. Nobody has gone through the same things you've gone through or has the same feelings that you've had, but there are people who maybe have gone through similar things, who can speak life into you, who can speak encouragement into you, even when you're facing those dark times, helping you understand how they were able to navigate those hard times that they were having. So I just want to encourage you tonight, as we get ready as we are in Thanksgiving week. I can't even believe Thanksgiving is already here. That's crazy to me. I feel like we were just talking about Happy New Year, right? And here we are we are at the end of November. We about to go into the last month of 2025. That's crazy to me. It seemed like we just started 2025. But guess what? In spite of all of the challenges, in spite of Project 2025, and in spite of all of that, we are here, we are making it, and we're going to keep on making it. We're going to keep on pressing on. We are going to keep on pressing through. We are going to find gratitude. Excuse me. In the midst of this cough. Excuse me. Ooh. I usually have a bottle of water with me when I do this, but I didn't today, of course. But we're going to find gratitude. Where are you going to find gratitude? Where are you going to look? Where are you going to look to find the treasure that is gratitude? Are you going to find it in the small things? Going to find it in a bubble bath, or a warm shower, a warm cup of tea, some hot chocolate with a little whipped cream if you want it? Where are you going to find gratitude? You're going to find it in calling that person that you haven't talked to in a while and checking on them, checking on the strong people in your life. Where are you going to find gratitude? Are you going to find it in remembering and honoring the loved ones that are no longer here in the flesh, but who are with us every day? How are you going to find gratitude? Where are you going to look for it? And I want you to tell me when you find it, tell me in the chat, tell me where you're going to look for gratitude, how you're going to find it, and when you find it, tell me what it is. Tell me what that gratitude is. So that's your homework for this week. So if you, um, as we're going into this season, and if you know somebody who can use this episode, finding gratitude, if you know somebody that's kind of feeling they yeah, kind of in their inner Scrooge right now, right? Because they're just because they're hurting. Not this is not like a judgment. If somebody says that they don't have anything to be grateful for, it's not a judgment. There's a reality to it for them. And so they have to have a desire to try to find it. So if you know of somebody, I'm asking you to please share this episode. Go to YouTube. It'll be up on YouTube a little bit later, but please share it with your community and check in on your community and ask the people in your community, where did you find gratitude today? Write it down and do it every day because there's something about gratitude that wakes up your brain and turns it on and turns it into a whole new direction where you're not coming from a place of scarcity or lack, but you're coming from a place of this is what I have. And for whatever it is that I have, no matter how little or how much, I'm grateful. All right. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Enjoy your time with your family or by yourself, however you choose to do it. I pray that you all will um, find gratitude um, every day. All right. God bless you. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. I'll see you next Monday. Good night.